Thank you, ladies, for joining us this morning at our 6th annual Moves Powering Forum. We're really, really excited about this year. We went virtual, and the topic of discussion today is climate change and sustainable you. Let's set the tone for the conversation. If you've reduced your carbon footprint and you've vowed to go greener, but does it work? Does it make a difference? Explore everyday personal climate change guidelines and why we should practice them for the sake of sustaining ourselves in the world. So Greta Thunberg, quote, "How dare you? What do you feel it is that climate change means to you?"
First of all, Greta Thunberg is my hero. She's amazing. And, as I was listening to your question, it reminds me of, just this idea of does a person matter? Does our vote matter? And I think it absolutely does. And the moment that any one person believes that their individual actions don't matter, I think the whole system falls apart. I tend to see firsthand in my life that my simple actions, like replacing, a plastic water bottle with an aluminum one years and years ago, has impacted hundreds of friends to do the same. And that means that they've impacted hundreds of friends. So much of that action starts with your actions. And then the next level is it starts with you as a consumer. What are you purchasing? What are you not purchasing? And what are the brands that you're buying from?
We have a responsibility. We're given, sort of like our bodies, we're given one earth. And how we maintain that, how we take care of that, it's the same kind of philosophy, I think, of how we can take care of our own selves. But that's going to take a lot of commitment and a lot of work. And I think everybody's in. It's got to be an all-in type of piece. And to your point, Courtney, nothing is too small. Nobody's voice is too quiet to make a difference.
And I think it is an individual responsibility. It has to start with you. And I think that it does make a difference. And I think we've seen that in our current situation. If everybody does their thing, it really affects everyone else. Our workplace that maybe has 7 people or 2,000 people, if you bring in your attitude of climate change and sustainability and doing things like changing from the plastic bottle to a glass or aluminum or something else, that affects everybody else. So I think it's very important, and one person can make a difference. And I think we've seen that through history, and that's kind of what I try and do is what's the best that I can do to show others.
How do you feel that it is possible to get into the mindsets of every person to help them understand that you can make a difference, but it's got to come from you?
I traveled about 95% of my time before COVID. This is the longest I haven't been on a plane since 2010. I think the sort of staying in place and quarantine thing has been a huge awakening for even environmentalists like myself.
I think that there is this process of re-engineering both individually and collectively on how we approach things, how we embrace things, and how we commit to changing things.
We do need to start with education, and it has to be on an individual basis as well. But I also think that we can't let the fear overrun our lives. And I think we have to continue to live and bring what we've learned, that there is an opportunity to, wash your hands, be socially sensitive, wear your mask, but to the extent that can't stop our living. And I'm in the tourism industry. So we've taken a hard hit with tourism and agriculture. However, I think on the agriculture side of things, people are looking for the more local product, and they've rediscovered the value that's in their backyard. They've rediscovered the farms. They've rediscovered fresh product. They've rediscovered that they can go 5 minutes down the road and have this valuable resource of food available to them. So in that respect, I think people are discovering local and what local has to offer. And in that, then you have a safer environment. So it is, I think, starts out individually. I think you have to do the sensible things that we've learned about, but I think you have to do it without letting that fear take over your life so that you can continue to live.
What is it that is going to make industry realize that they have to step up. And at what cost is it going to take for industry to realize that they've got to step up?
But I think that the education that we're now, that not so much that we're allowing, but that students are seeking by their voices to say, this is really important to me, and this is going to be able to make a change and a big difference. They're the next succession to whatever industry.
It starts with leadership, and it starts with policy. And we've not had that. We did have it, and now we've lost it. But I think it's the youth that is going to be our hope. I think that as they rise up in the corporate market, they're bringing that commitment to sustainability and the environment with them. And they bring that knowing that they're the ones that are going to make the change.
It's such an important issue with climate change that this is actually not affecting everyone evenly. It's affecting poor people on a way greater scale. And this sort of idea of like intersectional environmentalism is something that's coming to the light with the Black Lives Matter movement. And unfortunately, I think that's just the sort of sad story with climate change, because it's this slow death. That until there's something as extreme as, you can no longer drink your local water supply, either it's poisoned or you've run out of it, or you can no longer breathe the air in your city without putting a mask on. I hope it doesn't get to that point, but I feel like it's in some ways it has to ever see actual change on a mass adoption.
So the Lund University study concluded that having fewer children is the best way to contribute to climate change. And I know we all have a thought on that.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I don't know that I agree with it. I think that as you look around, I know the population is growing, but I think too that if you look at some of the countries that have limited child growth, it creates other problems. And I don't know. I don't think that that's an answer. I think that there's other things that can be done, and that, raising a family and having children is a personal decision. And I don't think that's one that should be regulated.
So in the amendments, it's taking your rights away to freedom and liberty to do what you feel is right. And granted that, go ahead.
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases, yes.
So I think it goes back to the Greta comment of, shame on you. Or shame on, however, shame on you, shame on us. We have a great opportunity. And part of where our responsibility comes from is to continue in a very persistent, very directed, very focused way these conversations and match the conversations to help to change the narrative, match the conversations to help to change the actions. If the window of opportunity is there, what we as a individual or collectively do with that, if we miss this opportunity, shame on us.
Courtney, would you like to add anything to my comment about how would you feel if you were told, hey, you're only allowed to have 2 children?
Great. No one should have more than 2 children.
So if there was one change you'd like to see where climate can impact and make a difference?
For me, it would be food systems.
I think the plant-based movement can do a lot more for a person's psyche to change the world than just, lowering carbon emissions.
Looking at your local production and what your local footprint can provide for you would be very important. And I think if we do that, then I think it has a rolling effect across the nation and the world.
General Paula Lodi, and it's an honor to be recognized by New York Moves magazine and its Mentor Award, and to represent the United States Army and Army medicine in this recognition.
And I'm very honored to receive this Moves Mentor Award. I think empowering the next generation of youth is super important, and I've learned so much from them as well.
I'm truly honored and humbled by this award. Thank you to Moves for the great opportunity. It's up to all of us to identify where we want to be and make the commitment to get there. Thank you for this amazing award. I will cherish it.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Cindy Chin, and I'm the moderator for today's New York Move session on Chart Your Own Destiny. There have been more than 500,000 applications for employer identification numbers since mid-March, according to the Census Bureau. My first question to you is, which industries have seen the largest growth in female entrepreneurs, and why do you think that is?
For us, where we've seen a lot of growth in female entrepreneurs is what I would call manufacturing field, but with very innovative products. So we see women, we have a woman-owned company that just started. They are producing alternatives to plastic straws. So these are biodegradable straws. They're going into that. Also, we're seeing people go into food and beverage manufacturing. We have actually a fair number of female farmers in our county. And so we're seeing them enter these traditional fields, but with new and innovative products.
What is inclusive about the Air Force is at the beginning of them joining, we ensure that they are trained and educated and continually being educated through leadership. At each role and position that they enter, we give them more training and more leadership skills. Everything that we do is an understanding that when they join, we are actually giving them a skill. If it's 4 years, 6 years, or 20 years, because we know that they're going to advance or move on further with outside the Air Force. That's what we prepare for, we encourage, and we continue to make it happen.
So are you seeing more people coming to you for training and specific aspects of training?
It's all levels, absolutely. They come in, have it be with the young airmen, the enlisted force, to where they want to actually get their education because they're unable to get on the outside, or they just don't want to go into student loan debt, and we offer them that, to where already educated individuals, have it be from bachelor's, master's, PhDs, and even physicians and doctorate levels. But we still give them extra education. So it really depends on the individual.
Every country has primary sectors where they produce either products or offer services. And oftentimes, and typically, the women business owners of the country will be in alignment with the major heavy industry sectors that are specific to that country or to that region. So it really is diverse.
We've had a lot of our manufacturers pivot and provide those products. And we have, for example, we're very strong in food and beverage, and we have a lot of distilleries up here, and a lot of our distilleries pivoted to provide hand sanitizer.
Do you see or do you feel that access to startup capital is still subject to archaic gender inequality challenges? What would you say to a young female entrepreneur who's sitting at home and has an idea right now?
I would say go for it. But in that process, to build your team. So for any entrepreneur, and especially for female entrepreneurs, I think it's important to build that critical team.
Most of the commands in the Air Force have created a women's symposium where all the women come together, different career fields, different echelons, have it be enlisted, officer, Corps. We've all come together and we talk about our experiences. We talk about what we can do. Like Elizabeth said, networking, it's the same kind of thing. Preparing while we're in and preparing once we're going to leave the Air Force.
what are some of the lessons that you can share that you've learned of this? Obviously, it's all across the board. A lot of things have been canceled for 2020. There were expectations.
Air Force Recruiting actually has developed the Aim High app. So it's already on iTunes or App Store, and you can download it. That gives you the opportunity to put your information in there, put your location, your highest education level, and then find the recruiter, and then you can start virtually.
We surveyed the women business owners in our entire network, and there was some really interesting findings. Yes, the great majority of them, 89% of them, had been negatively impacted by COVID, but I would say that over half of them have found ways to pivot. Women, who represent half the world population, they have a third of the world's businesses. They make almost all the consumer purchasing decisions or influence them. And so it's crazy to have women representing only 1% of the global spend by large organizations, corporations, or governments with women.
I do actually think if you have the means, this is a great time to start a business. Out of challenges, there's always opportunity. And those businesses that are able to be creative, that are able to be agile, and be able to solve a problem. This is a real good time to be entering that. Albeit there is a little bit more risk, but being an entrepreneur is without risk. I do think it's a very opportune time, and it is a good time of opportunity to kind of restructure the system to be more inclusive.
Have you seen connecting in the digital space impacting everyone in learning?
Easy, it might be there were several companies in the past that said we can't work remotely, and this really tested that, and a lot of companies found that they could work remotely.
During this time, it has allowed us, and it showed us that we all have the capability, we all have the computers, have it be on the iPhones, iPads, and the laptops that we are already given. We have the technology to do it, and now that we are doing it, we're seeing that it is definitely possible.
Are you seeing these interactions online? Is this the Zoom, the meetings now are new normal?
It is, just like Sarah and Michelle mentioned, it's the new normal.
This is kind of a quick rapid fire. What do you say advice to the 2020 graduates who are finishing up their graduations now online and not in a big ceremony that we probably all went to?
I would say always stay curious.
I would say within the Air Force is your own.
It is truly a brave new world, and you need to be brave and embrace the opportunities in front of you and create new opportunities and dream really big.
First off, thank you so much to New York Moves for nominating me for this incredible award. I'm so honored to be recognized and to be in such great company with the other honorees. Now more than ever, all of us need to lean in, lean on one another, reach out, and pay it forward. So thank you again, and I hope to meet all of you in the not too distant future.
Our greatest contribution as women, as front runners, as leaders, is to pass on that ability to mentor, the ability to watch and help other people grow. Thank you so much to Moves Magazine and all of the folks that have made this just an outstanding experience for me.
I always encourage people to find their passion and chase their dreams. My passion for flying drove my dream of being a fighter pilot. If you are going to chase your dream, you need to develop determination, because people will tell you no along the way. Personally, I have had so many opportunities since I joined the Air Force. My hard work and determination enabled me to take advantage of those opportunities. Class of 2020, I challenge you to dream big, stay determined, and seize every opportunity you encounter. When you follow your dream, you will often encounter obstacles or barriers. This is where determination becomes a major factor. When you get knocked down, you need to get back up with even more determination than before. You dust yourself off and come up with a new game plan. While it is nice when others believe in you, that will not always be the case. You need to believe in yourself. You must develop the resolve to persevere in the face of adversity. It goes without saying that 2020 has been a unique year, with unexpected difficulties and unforeseen changes to our daily lives. Now, more than ever, we need to build our resilience. We need to be strong in the face of adversity. In difficult situations, sometimes it helps to focus your energy on your sphere of influence. For the pandemic, you can stay socially connected while ensuring physical distancing. For the unrest in our society, you can focus on treating others with dignity and respect, and valuing equality and inclusion while helping our society change. The diversity of our people, with different backgrounds and different perspectives, is what makes our nation great. When we have an inclusive society, that diversity becomes a powerful strength. This is where you, the graduating class of 2020, come in. You are our future leaders, and you will shape and guide the future of our nation. This is your moment. Seize this opportunity. I wish you all the best as you embark on your journey to the future. Congratulations.
Congratulations to the graduating class of 2020. Bravo. Here we are. I'm sure this is not the way that you expected to be celebrating this milestone in your life, but that's pretty much it for right now. So let's talk about the positive aspects of what this is. First, you've been given a great opportunity to pause and reflect. The future is now yours. So make sure you have a voice in it. Get out there, register, and vote. Second, be brave, be bold, be inspired, be inspiring to others. Be kind, be generous, and have fun. Because I can promise you that at 67, it goes by in the blink of an eye. So once again, congratulations to the graduating class of 2020. Have a great time. Enjoy this moment because you deserve it.
Hi, it's Patricia Clarkson. Congrats to the graduates of 2020, all of you here today. Okay, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but we're also in the middle of what could be the most extraordinary moment in our country. We are a country that might finally be on the road to becoming a more perfect union. We are a country on the verge of true equality and justice for all. But I believe the only way we can finally get there is you. You are the people who can make this country what it should have always been. You, your generation, can bring this country to the promised land. You're smarter than any of us. You're cooler than any of us. I want to be you when I grow up. I believe, I put my trust and my faith in you. You could be possibly the next greatest generation. I wish you luck, I wish you love. Stay kind, stay wise, and always, always have strong opinions. Take care.
Captain Marvel has this rich human past. The core of her is the Air Force. The Air Force was welcoming and amazing. It was important for Bree to go up in the F-16 and discover who Carol Danvers is. It's gonna be fun.
It's a great honor for the men and women of the 57th Wing to be able to share this thing that is the Air Force.
You're so cool.
Here we go. Doing good back there? Beautiful.
That spirit of her, that sense of humor mixed with total capability and whatever challenge comes her way is really what Air Force pilots are like.
You know how to fly this thing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Moves Magazine, in its 6th annual forum event, would like to welcome our young ladies today that are going to participate in an amazing discussion about women as change makers. I'd like to just throw that question out and just get a sense of how everybody feels about where a woman's role is today in society. And what is it that is missing with everybody understanding the role that we play where society is concerned?
Unfortunately, I think there's still a lot of firsts that are happening. And we often hear, when are we going to stop saying the first woman to blank? We're still working on that. There's a lot of great strides to be made. But I think when we talk, as far as progress, it's relative. I think, especially in the Air Force, it's ebbed and flowed. Women have been flying airplanes, for example, for the past 70 years. At the dawn of the Air Force in the 40s of World War II, women started flying airplanes. That's the WASPs. And women have been flying airplanes since then, but maybe not in as great of numbers as we've hoped. But we've seen all of our combat roles open up to females, which I think has been a tremendous stride for us as a nation, and just giving us that opportunity, whether or not you want to take it, having the opportunity, breaking down those barriers has been monumental for progress for us.
I also think seeing is believing, right? And so we need to put a spotlight on those women who are in the traditionally male-dominated positions.
The advertising world and the film world to at least bring one woman into the mix if you have a project. Let women have a chance.
This younger generation has such a clear way of dismantling the general pronouns that we all use to even speak to one another, that I think that they just have a different version of equality and being individuals that I think we've even all been granted the privilege to grow up in. We can push as much as we want, but I feel like everything happens through education and through people honestly at the top standing up and speaking up for one another. And that's really when I think we'll see progress.
Is the idea of patriarchy so overwhelmingly ingrained in our society that only radical action will change the status quo?
Representation matters. It's my favorite hashtag because it's true. People need to see success in themselves through others. So for me, I work for Major General Leavitt. She's the first female fighter pilot. In the 90s was the first time we allowed women to fly combat aircraft. I saw her 16 years ago as a lieutenant, and she was lieutenant colonel with children. I had never seen a female fighter pilot before, and I'd never seen one that was a mom. I didn't even know that was possible.
Being a woman of color and knowing that I'm really a dime a dozen in my industry, especially on an executive producer level. And, that's really infuriating, and it's really frustrating because I never get you rarely get to go in a room and feel that sense of support because you're the only person there. And I think in the larger scope of how it feels as a woman, it's really intimidating because the structure of society is built within a male gaze.
You have to get that image out there to be hey, if you have this dream, it is possible, and they have to see it, especially in this age of technology. If they don't see it, they don't believe it, right? And then going back, we also need, and I think Lisa touched on this briefly, is we also do need those male advocates. We can stomp our feet all we want to, but that male advocate is equally as important because it is about inclusion too, right? It's not just about diversity. The inclusion part is very, very important. How do we fundamentally shift our culture so that we all collectively can work and grow together? So there's quite a few things that we can do. I'm really glad that the efforts that we are having in the Air Force are leading towards that better solution. There's a tendency for people to think that maybe the military is behind, but I actually do think that we're very progressive and aggressive in the stances that we take to progress our women and our minorities.
It's being a woman is one thing, but then being a pregnant woman or a single mom is this totally other thing. And that's what really has to change about society.
trust that there's room for all of us. I mean, there's room for all those men. Why not like for all these women?
How can we be better at making young female women aware of this? How do we get to market and make that a movement in our lives?
Mentoring young women, I mean, and bringing them along with the journey. You know, I really try to make sure that, you know, the females are in the room with me, in the important meetings, in the conversations, giving them the visibility so that their ideas are heard, that their names are getting known, that they are working their way up in credibility, and that their voice matters.
And then there's also like huge opportunities in STEM and robotics that, you know, traditionally, like we thought these were, you know, male boy roles, but we really have to, again, break down those barriers, break down what we identify as traditional gender roles, and provide those opportunities to all of our children equally, and like empower them to understand what equality and equity is. So breastfeeding, for example, is sometimes taboo, but it needs to be normalized. It's a fact. Like, it just happens. It happens to everybody. Like, it's what women's bodies do when you have babies. And, you know, for us, it breaks my heart to hear Elias, you know, talk about like pumping in a stall. You know, now we have Department of Defense policy that says like every workplace will have a lactation.
But I believe we have to be mindful that it's so ingrained in people that like they're not thinking in this new direction. So it's just about, hey, guess what? That was sexist. That was racist, what you just said. And like, I'm not going to be mad at you for it. I'm going to tell you why. And this is like how we got to change it. And like, no, like, I'm not going to judge you for it. Let's move on. And if you see yourself, you can see it. That's all that matters.
I'd like to add to what Crystal just mentioned, you know, working together. And, you know, I really think women, we're natural connectors, right? Like we go out in the world, it's our first order of business is to connect and to make people feel comfortable. We listen, we lean on each other. You know, in this time, you know, that's a must. Countries with women leaders leading the charge, you know, I think it is that listening, the empathy, the compassion, these things that are ingrained in us.
Not just using your voice to speak up for yourself, but to like call people out that are doing things that are wrong. Like if we can actually like correct each other in like a compassionate way, we can see real change.
Advocacy. Madeleine Albright had a quote. I'm probably gonna butcher it, but it has to do. She said, "It took a long time to find my voice, but once I found it, I used it."
You know, the godmother that we've chosen for our newest ship is Reshma Saljani, and she's the founder of an organization, Girls Who Code. And I really love the powerful messaging that she has around brave, not perfect.
I'm so excited to be accepting this award from my home, my study in New Rochelle, New York, where I've been working for weeks. I would love to be in a room full of powerful women right now, but I feel your spirit and your energy even across the airwaves. This acknowledgement is really meaningful to me. So thank you so much to New York Moves for this award.
I'm honored to be honored by the Power Women Forum as a Moves mentor. If you're wondering about women's votes over the next 100 years, how about we all focus, for starters, on the next 5 months, so that when November rolls around, we can all vote to actually make a difference.
Eight seconds to you. Cue her.
Good morning. I'm bringing you some sad and upsetting news. And while I don't know the details of the allegations,
she's throwing me under the bus.
Mitch Kessler, my co-host and partner of 15 years, was fired today.
So I just wanted to remind myself of the positive, pure definition of power, and like a good Oxford girl that I am, I consulted my Oxford English dictionary, and I just wanted to remind us all, power, the capacity or ability to direct or influence the behavior of others or the course of events. And to me, just reading those words again reminded me that we are all able to change the course of events, and that is so inspiring to me, and I just wanted to just take a moment just to take that in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 6th Annual Moves Forum. The first forum was launched with Ashley Judd and CNN, and I'm excited to see how everything has evolved. Today, regarding social media, gods or monsters, do you believe that there needs to be more monitoring of social media? Or do you think that that infringes on our First Amendment rights?
With respect to regulations on social media and monitoring, and then particularly as it pertains to younger people and issues of bullying, I think there are two things at play here. In terms of our rights to express ourselves, I'm with Gifty in that we should all have that opportunity to express ourselves, and then it's up to the consumer as to what it is that we consume. I'm not a tech wizard, so I'm not sure how this would work with respect to bullying, but if there was some way to sort of flag bullying language that is being posted, especially on young people's accounts, I think, when I was a kid, bullying was to your face. You saw the face of your bully. In the age of social media, people hide behind their television, behind their computer screens, and behind their cell phones.
There have been initiatives from alt-right forums to spread targeted harassment onto people within the LGBTQ community through social media, and kind of identifying key thought leaders and influencers in the LGBTQ community, in the Black and Brown communities, and harassing them en masse to the point of fatigue, so that they are either leaving social media or causing harm to themselves. And this is something that is coordinated and a real initiative that people are promoting and supporting on other forums. So if there was a way for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so on to intervene and stop some of that targeted harassment from occurring, absolutely, I think it is well within their right and very much needed.
What were the positives that came from having social media or having a digital platform during a pandemic?
Me personally, during the pandemic, I have found that definitely I was on social media a whole lot more. But I realized that within myself, because I try to have a balance on how long I stay on social media and what I do consume. So when I realized that, I had to kind of pull back just to keep my balance. And it's a little bit harder when you're at home for a longer period of time.
My relationship with social media during the pandemic was sort of a bit of a roller coaster ride. Hey, nobody's getting back to performing until 2021. Why don't we launch our show virtually? So we did a complete remodel of our business plan in terms of what this show was going to be. And we realized that with social media, we have a captive audience. The only way for people to consume music right now is online. I saw the sort of sad part of it that made me depressed, and then I saw the flip side of it that actually just really encouraged me.
It has been really hard to plan things super far out into the future. Especially in March and early April, things kind of seem to be shifting day by day, sometimes hour by hour. And on a personal level, with how I use social media as an individual and as a content creator and influencer, it actually felt really empowering to be able to communicate with my audience and share information and help educate my audience on some of the new topics and things that we were facing, whether it was understanding epidemiology or understanding the proper way to socially distance, and being able to engage in conversations like that, as well as fundraising.
Do you all feel a responsibility being, I would consider all of you influencers in our community, do you feel a responsibility to have you either political views, current views posted on your social media? Are there times where you feel like you need to step back, or are there times where you really feel like your voice needs to be heard?
I absolutely think it's a responsibility. I think that having a platform is a privilege, and when you have privilege, you should spend it.
In terms of other brands and how they've been posting and what they've been posting, I will say this, and I had this conversation with my brother just a couple nights ago. I really appreciate that a lot of brands and companies are coming out and sort of posting things about Black Lives Matter. They did the Blackout Tuesday, and then they were posting about Juneteenth. I appreciate that now. My hope is that this is not just a social media trend, because I will tell you, these brands, these companies that are posting now, it's great. But where were you before this? Where were you 3 weeks ago? And will you still be preaching the same message and delivering this in your actions moving forward? And so I want to see if these companies will do more beyond just a token social media post. That's what I'm looking for, to be perfectly blunt.
One of the really amazing initiatives that has come out of this in the last few weeks was one called Pull Up or Shut Up, which was spearheaded by Jackie Aina, who is a Black influencer. She's a beauty influencer. And it was, okay, you've made your statement about BLM, thank you. Now can you please offer some transparency about your hiring practices, and if there are people of color, whether they're Black, Indigenous, Hispanic, and so on in your organizations.
Whether you're Black, whether you're white, you have to figure out what your role is in order to move the conversation forward to get to the end goal. So my role, what I've been doing personally, just kind of educating and having those conversations, because a lot of times if you don't have the conversations, you don't really know what's out there. You're not able to change people's point of view or just give them a different perspective.
Gifty, I have to say, I really applaud that you're doing that, and I'm with you in terms of being in that place where you're tired and you're exhausted yourself, but if you do have a very diverse group of friends and colleagues, you find yourself surrounded by people who simply just don't have the information or have not been given the sort of just life perspective.
I think it's incredibly important that we're also mindful of what we're sharing. A lot of what our awareness has come from has been the viral videos and sharing those videos. And it's really important to not just share the content blindly, not thinking about how that's going to impact people who are seeing it. And how it's contributing to this exhaustion and constant triggering and re-traumatization and PTSD that a lot of Black and other people of color are experiencing.
So back to our topic of social media being a god or monster, if I may, I'm hearing more that this is in a godlike realm than a monster. It might have been previously viewed as a monster, more on a superficial realm. And I feel, from what I'm hearing in our conversation today, that due to a virus and a pandemic and having a captive audience, people are waking up.
Hi, Mona Ellison, publisher of New York Moves magazine here. Well, how much fun was that? I hope you enjoyed our forum as much as we enjoyed making it. I'd like to thank everybody that contributed both on and off set, and we hope to see you all soon. Please stay safe.
Hello, welcome to the 6th annual Moves Forum. Take 2. I need a slate. I'm just kidding. Muna, don't be in a fight with me. Okay. All right. I'm glad we're live. We're not live. Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for what? Wow. Okay. I'm not new here, kids. I'm just We're getting this together. Okay.
I just want to make sure that I have all your name pronunciations correct. So, Sarah, I think I can get you.
Oh my gosh.
I think. So sorry for keeping everybody.
Maybe closer or tilted a little bit so you have less head, you have less space at the top. Okay, first of all, I'd like to, I should start again.
Today, I'm very excited to join, I'm sorry, let me just start over. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Cindy. Oh, I don't even know if it's morning.
Aaliyah, can I throw this at you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that progress is really gonna come when it's like something that's in.
Okay, you were breaking up and you're fading out a lot. Is your internet okay?
Can you hold on 1 second? I have movers in my office. And just 1 second.
Yeah,
and I'll move my light directly.
Okay, fantastic. Any adjustments, do it now.
Well, to your discussion there. Kathy, I actually just noticed that my email was still bouncing in. Okay.
Courtney, I'm going to join you with the coffee until we can't join anymore.
You know, being an entrepreneur is without risk, you know, I hope they edit that word.